next guest always has such a positive effect on us. Her contributions to our Motivational Monday series are priceless.
Today, award-winning author Stacy Hawkins Adams is here with another great topic. Hi, Stacy. What's on the docket today?
Good morning. Today, we're going to talk about how to show up as your best self.
Okay.
We've entered November. We have the election tomorrow, which is giving a lot of folks anxiety. We're racing toward the holiday season. It's a time when you can be overloaded, overwhelmed, over-anxious. And so how do you still show up as your best self, who you want to be, and how do you leave others better than you found them?
Wow.
Very important thoughts as we kind of are at this crossroads of so many different things.
Yes.
And you're right, having to show up as our best selves. And this is a time of Thanksgiving and kindness and joy. And so we've all got to make intentional decisions to be in that frame of mind.
Absolutely, and you're right about it being intentional, because even though it's those things, we feel like it should be all those things you just mentioned, and a lot of people might be dealing with a loss, grief, something happening with work, inflation, whatever. There are things that make you feel anxious, that make you feel like I can't be joyful, I can't be happy in this season. And so how do you lean into being those things? Or when you encounter someone and you see they're not having that best day, how do you lean into active listening? How do you listen to actually hear what they're saying versus responding? And then how do you decide you want to respond rather than react to things that are happening?
And you know, we're in this time where we're just overloaded with so much information, and sometimes an idea comes in this ear and then it quickly goes out that one. But I think if we frame this as this is a responsibility that we all have, we can make this, we can put this on our to-do list and we can make it happen.
Right, you can put it at the top of your to-do list, because again, it's all about who you want to be and how do you want to show up in the world. And at the end of the day, when you lay your head on your pillow, are you pleased with who you are? Now, we're not perfect. We're always going to have to ask for grace for ourselves, forgive ourselves, ask others to forgive us. But when you start out the day with the right intentions to listen actively, respond instead of react, show empathy to others. You may not always be able to stand in their shoes, but you can understand or remember a time when maybe you were having a bad day, so I'm going to give a little bit extra grace. When we kind of lead with those things, it really helps us make it more active for us.
And you talk about taking up space, being your best self, but also not being afraid to show your strengths and your joy and the light that you bring to others. So even in times of, you know, anxiety, how do we do that and bring joy to others in that process?
I think it's owning who you are and being okay with who you are. You may be the bubbliest person in your family, and you come in there like, oh, here she is wearing all her bling, and everybody else has their sweatsuits on. Be the blingy person, because even though they may kind of own it, because even though they might tend to complain about it, there's something about that they love, because each of us is designed to be uniquely who we are. We all have something to offer to this world. We have unique gifts and talents, and our personalities is part of that. So when you show up as your full self, you're not trying to be someone else. You really are adding a gift to the world.
And you know, with the election tomorrow, with Thanksgiving coming up in just a couple of weeks, where, you know, some of those family conversations are not the happy conversations for a lot of people, it's important to just remember this as we're navigating those moments.
To remember that, yes, for sure. And also to just remember that when you lead with who you are and you remember that someone else is hopefully trying to do the same, there's some commonality in the middle. What are the things we can agree on? We all love the children. We all want to see the children happy. How do we make that happen? We love the same, you know, dessert. How can we make this dessert together in the kitchen? What are the things that you can find that you can agree upon? So lean into those things.
And sometimes just even starting the conversation that way allows someone else's guard to go down.
Yes.
And so it is, you're approaching the good things and not necessarily the things that are keeping everyone, or the history or the trauma or the baggage that has everyone walking into the room a little more anxious than they should be.
Right. And even when others walk in with their opinions, which will happen a lot tomorrow, this week with the election, let them have their say. If you choose to have your say, fine. But even if you don't choose to have your say, you know who you are, you know what you stand for, and you know what you want to represent. And so let that light lead you even when you don't use words.
And maybe even take something like a social media hiatus.
Yes.
So you can have that light instead of maybe engaging in something ugly.
Exactly. You can be intentional about what you receive and what you give and what you pause. So that's very true.
Very important things to think about, even with the time changing and how that affects people and all of the things that will happen politically. There's so many things that are thrust upon us in this time frame that make things a little bit more difficult. But you're saying we can do it. You have to let that light shine, focus on the good and the things that we have in common between us.
Absolutely, and it sounds a little bit hokey to say, but if you only remember one thing, remember, lead with love. And whatever love is for you, whatever that looks like, whatever that is, just lead with that and you'll be okay.
That's right.
I love that, lead with love. That is what we're going to do today.
Well, it is always a pleasure having you. Thank you for centering us, especially in such an interesting week ahead.
Thank you, Stacy, for another wonderful Motivational Monday. And each Monday, Stacy sends out Motivational Monday emails. If you're interested in subscribing, please visit StacyHawkinsAdams.com. Our live show returns in less than 3 minutes.